welcome to 2021. I can't believe that I'm saying those words. 2021. So 2021, we're looking at for the spring semester for tennis classes. And this will be for our beginning tennis section and our intermediate tennis section. And it will be applicable to not only credit students, but the non-credit or KINX students. Everybody that signed up so far, and first of all, I'm just so pleased to see so many of our past students, the students that stuck with us in the fall for the first time, have rolled over and signed up again for the spring semester. So I'm just really thrilled about that. That made a huge difference that this was happening. And so what I'm doing now is I'm doing some supplemental videos. This will be the first one that starts off the very first week of classes and kind of reinforce some stuff that we had last time. You still want to be able to go back and you want to refer back to the back videos and to keep them in mind and some of the tips. So all the shared files that I had from before, it'll be so many that'll be in there. It's unbelievable. But the ones that will be very specific to those of you that are taking class will probably be labeled 1A or 1.5 or 1.5 or something of that sort. So you'll be able to tell the difference between the first semester's videos, which were the fall, and then the videos that are complementing them for this semester. For instance, I didn't talk about this very much, but this is a really, really good book, and it's called Tennis Fundamentals, and I have it listed on the ICRs, and I also on the ICRs, I'm going to follow up with some explanation on how to actually get to the ICRs this time. We had a lot of difficulty with that last semester, getting there. But some of this stuff, it will be very, very interesting for you to look at. And the reason why I want you to see it is because it gives you nice little pictures on it that tells you exactly different things that are going to apply to us going further along. For instance, it has a whole section on grips in it. And we can talk about that and look at it because that's one of the first things that we're going to go over. It actually has pictures in it that show you the end of the racket, which talks about the beveled end, or the butt of the racket, which right now all you know about that is that we used it to determine whether you won the spin. For instance, this is a Wilson racket, so it has an M or a W on the end of it, and that's how we would spin to see who guessed an M or a W, and they would find out whether they want to serve or receive or take side or something of that sort. But now we want to be talking about, because we want to be talking about the different grips. Before we talked about it, we always said almost everything that we're going to do is going to have the handshake grip. Just like you're shaking hands with somebody, just like I stuck my hand out, then I would shake your hand. And so that would come from the edge of my hand with this little V all the way down the edge of the racket, coming down to the end or the butt of the racket, and I would hold on to it, and that would be the continental grip, or sometimes called the handshake grip. Well, we do have different grips. We have a grip called the Eastern, we have a grip called the Western, and then sometimes they call it the semi-Eastern or the semi-Western, which means that I'm going to move a little bit further onto my grip. The only thing that we talked about, I'm just going to set this here, the only thing that we talked about previously was that we talked about how to hit our forehands with the continental grip or the handshake, and then we talked about how we would exchange and move our grip over to make the same continental or the same type of grip, the same type of handshake in the backhand position. Because we said we couldn't keep it in this position and then turn and hit your backhand without twisting your arm around. So to do that, we took our racket, if we were right-handed, we took our racket and it pivoted one of these edges, out of these 8 edges, one edge over, or one little quarter turn over. Actually, that's an 1/8 of a turn, an 1/8 of a turn over in order to bring that racket down by my waist or down by my hips in order to change it to a backhand grip from a forehand grip. So, forehand continental, and then the backhand grip, which had a little change on it. So we're going to introduce more on the forehand and backhand grips, more talking about Eastern and Western or semi-grips. And we're also going to talk about different types of spin, which mean a little bit of an underspin, a little bit of a top spin, a little bit of a back spin, a little bit of a slice coming across the ball. So those are things that we're going to talk about this semester for those of you that have already taken the class before. So that's going to be a very interesting concept for you. Now, I don't want you to get so ahead of yourself that you don't forget about the fundamentals. You always want to go back to fundamentals. Doesn't do any good to be working on changing your grip to hit more topspin shots if you don't even have your forehand down. So changing too much won't help you. It'll just be if you're ready to, you've got that mastered, that particular stroke mastered, and the technique that you're using, then you might want to change it, put more spin on it, or more pace on it, or take off some spin or pace. And the same thing with your serve. There's not any reason to talk about a first serve and a second serve, or a kick serve, or a serve with a little bit of extra bounce on it, or a slice. It doesn't really do any good to talk about that if you still haven't got your serve into play and you're still having trouble with your toss itself. So be sure before you make big changes that you're going to look at previously your fundamentals and make sure that your fundamentals are very solid before you do make your changes. That's something that's going to help you quite a bit. So again, we're going to move from just the continental to talk about a little bit other. Now I happen to hit a very flat forehand, so I have a little bit of what's called a semi-western. So I don't always keep it right here on this handshake grip. I'll have a tendency to move it over so that when I come across the ball and hit it flat, when I hit flat across the ball, then my ball tends to go low across the net. So if this is our net right here, my ball tends to pass about this height over the net. Now, technically, it's really kind of a good shot because it's going to drop low. It's going to be hard for the person to get. But it leaves me no room for error, no margin of error whatsoever. I mean, there's a fine line between hitting the tape and not going over or clearing the net. Typically, balls like to pass, they tell you, between 2 and 3 feet over the net. That's typically what balls pass so that you know you always have coverage. So you're looking at a range from here to here, but you actually want that ball to pass over the net from baseline to baseline on a ground stroke. And to get that, the most popular type of grip is to do a forehand with some topspin on it so that the ball goes over the net, and then because it has topspin, it has a little kick as it drops and then bounces up and away. So that typically is a shot that's used a lot. And it's a very offensive shot. And think about that ball coming to me. It bounces, it jumps or kicks up, and it kicks up really high. It's not going to stay flat like mine are, where you can get right up underneath it. It's going to jump and kick up. So that's the type of shot that you have to be prepared to hit. So my stance would be a little bit different, and my grip would be different to hit that. And then going into the backhand, again, we've talked about mostly one-handed backhands, and we've watched two-handed backhands because I have a one-handed backhand. So I use my free hand to change the grip and then come back and reset. And you can see the end of my racket, so you can see exactly where my hand is on the grip. It's not up in here. So having said that, again, as I come across the ball and hit it, look at the face of my racket because of the angle of my racket face. So then when I hit across this ball, then I'm going to have a little bit of a slice because I'm coming not straight into it, I'm coming across that ball. Now the same thing, if I want to hit some top spin on my backhand, I'm going to have to come down, around, and underneath that ball to hit that top spin. So racket's going to look completely different when I finish. And this is one-handed, so you can imagine two-handed the difference on it. So we're going to explore all these changes of grips, continental, western, eastern. We're going to explore the difference in forehand and backhand, whether it's going to be top spin or a little bit of backup spin or a slice, and then the same thing on the backhand. Then when we get to do our volleys and our short balls, we're going to talk about coming in with a slice on your approach shot so it dips really low and makes it hard for them to pass you. And then we're going to talk about when we get right up to the net and hit a volley, how to hit things that have like drop volleys on them, to where the volleys go over the net, but they literally drop over and they don't have pace to jump up to the person so they can come and get to it. So the point is to come over and have a little bit shorter backswing so that when you hit it and it drops over, it kind of cuts down on it and goes over. That used to be called putting English on the ball. And people can drop the ball so much on their drop volleys that not only does it bounce over and stay low, sometimes it bounces back up over the net. And I think I also remembered to tell you guys last semester that during that time that that happens, that's one of the only times that you can actually reach over the net, if this is a net, to where I can reach over the net and touch that ball. Because what's happened is the the ball has come over the net, someone's hit it to me, and before I got a chance to hit it, it went back over. So I can reach over. The rest of the times I can't reach over the net because otherwise I would lose the point. So there are quite a few things that we want to expand on. That's why it's going to be called supplemental. That's why I'm going to say like 1.5 with each one of these so that you'll see that there's a difference in it. I will change up the tests a little bit, your midterm written and your written final. I will change those up a little bit to reflect the fact that you've already taken this test before and done fairly good on it. The quizzes, I'll have the quizzes probably just reworded differently because to tell you the truth, you know, there's nothing that's going to change in the tiebreaker. The tiebreaker is still going to be a 7-point tiebreaker or a 10-point tiebreaker. It's not going to change. And the do's and don'ts of tennis are not going to change. It's still going to be the same etiquette rules. So you guys are kind of getting a freebie on those. You are automatically going to know what's going on with that. Any new videos that I come up with, if they go ahead and have another Open, for instance, if they have the Australian Open, I'll try to get some footage of that so that you can watch some of the players come in the Australian Open. We were so chaotic with the US Open and the French Open. A lot of you did not get to watch any of that play. So I'm going to see if I can pull up some type of YouTube videos on those since it's hard to actually tape them and then produce them for y'all. But that would be something that I think would be very interesting for you to watch. It's a professional match. And obviously, you guys know how to Google, you know how to go online, you know how to look up YouTube. There's so much stuff out there, it's just not even funny. But I do want to say again, I appreciated how much that everybody did watch the videos that I did because you came back with some really super important information that told me that you were understanding what it was we were talking about and that the most difficult part was for you to keep practicing so that you could keep going into it and practice what it is that we were working on. So you'd have an idea if you could put into practice everything that you were reading, if it made sense to you. I had some really good comments on stuff. I know towards the end, trying to get you to figure out whether you were going to play singles or doubles or what you wanted to do, it came down to where we had, geez, I only remember 2 days out of the whole semester that we had bad weather, that we had rain, and of those 2 days, one of those still had a good weather day towards the end of the week, so it just depends on the times that you have off. So, and hopefully those of you that are coming back, I will have had a chance to have seen you in December. I won't know that yet since I'm making that before I get actually a chance to say that. But I had set up for something to happen in December, so hopefully I will have met those of you that were repeating for another time. It's always good to get some feedback on this stuff. So, and another thing that will change a little bit, and that's only two if you've got to where you've really gotten it to where you can play like this all the time. Ready position has always been a huge thing, which means always ready for the next shot. That's what's super important about doubles. Singles, you have to be ready because you're the only person on court. But doubles, you have to be ready because your partner may miss the shot. The shot may not come where you thought it was. In doubles, the concept is that every shot's actually your shot, even though it's not. You only have half of the court. But the concept should be that I'm ready to hit any shot so that when my partner does something that I don't think he's going to do, I'm right there for backup. Or if I'm the person in front and he thinks, my partner back there thinks that I'm going to get it, then I can say, no, I don't have it. And that way, automatically they're ready to play. Automatically they know. Because we've done a lot of communication. I'll say, okay, I'm going to move over here to poach the ball, but if I don't get it, then I'm going to stay over here so that you can cover. So that takes a lot of talk and a lot of communication to be successful. And that's why it makes it very social-based versus singles when you're just stuck on your own trying to do it. But having said that, we won't sometimes get enough time to actually turn, pivot, step, and hit. The ball may not come to us quite that slow. So we're going to be thinking about maybe just if we don't get all the way turned around, we get at least our shoulder and our hips turned. These are really hard shots to hit. Open stance shots, they're really hard to hit. So just to think that every now and then you're winging it from here, it's not to say that last minute effort, that's not going to work, or leaning back a little is not going to work, but saying overall, this is what we want every single time. We want to use those legs. Those feet drive into the ground. That's what gives us our power. Our volleys, the feet help move us in the direction we want to go. We don't want to get to where we're hitting a ball and we're dragging it across the court, or we don't want to hit a ball as we're running and try to run it over the net. All those things make it really difficult to get it back. Our weight going backwards is really hard. It's very difficult if your weight's going backwards because it's going to be very hard to hit the ball up and over if my weight's going backwards. So remember to back up so that you can move forward to hit the ball. And I think the last thing to keep going on is so that we make sure that we're always trying to get the ball in our strike zone. Everybody has a different strike zone because they're built different and they hit the ball differently. So my strike zone is right here. I love this area right here. Right here. This is it. This is it for me. Not so much here, not so much here, but right in here. That's it. So I try to move back, move up, go across to where I'm always going to be right here. The person's not going to hit to me. They're never going to hit to me. Well, they might, but they're not going to hit to me on purpose. The whole point of tennis is trying to hit when the person's not. So they're going to hit to make it difficult for me to get there. My job is to get there in my strike zone. That's why I work on that really hard to get there in my strike zone so that I can not only hit the ball back, but direct it someplace that's away from that person so that I'm not hitting it right back to them, so that I'm not having some strategy involved, whether it's singles or doubles. So again, if I just want to play with somebody and rally back and forth and we hit back and forth each other, there's no problem with that. It's like me drilling, me hitting balls to you and you drilling them back. That's fine. But once you get into a game play, that's not going to be any type of game, just hitting back and forth. That's just a practice rally. So I want to make sure that I can move and alternate from forehand to backhand. I can direct it down the line, down the middle, cross court, so that I've got positions. So those are things that if you are taking the class twice, you want to be working on. You also want to come out as much as you can and work on wall rally drills since our courts are open. Lights are on until 11 o'clock, open courts for 7 days a week. So it's perfect to come out. You can play on the pickleball courts, work on your volleys, half volleys there, come out and work on the backboard on your ground strokes. You can work on your serves. I mean, there's just so many things that you can work on by yourself, even though I know you want to play somebody, but it's still going to help you to work on those things by yourself. But again, open stance, I'm not going to really want to go over open stance because I don't really want you to be using open stance. Now, when you watch the professionals play, they look like they're hitting open stance. They look like they're hitting like this all the time, but if you notice, they're always moving to the ball, So they aren't open stance. They're not running like this, and they're not hitting like this. They're actually moving to the ball. As they contact it, that's when you look at them and you think it looks like they're hitting open stance, but they're not actually. They've already moved, they've already turned. As they hit it, they're using a little bit more of the hip rotation to get the ball into play. They're not dragging it across, swirling it across. They're actually driving into the ground and bringing it across. And then sometimes you'll see the guys, especially in their forehands, but also in their backhands, they have it to where they're actually almost kind of leave the court. It's almost kind of such power that they pull up and they leave the court. You need to look up some YouTube of one of the players out there, Schwartzman, Diego Schwartzman. He is my height. He's 5'4", 5'4 and a half. He's my height. He is a super duper player. He's unbelievable. He's just an unbelievable player. I think he's in his 20s. He has a very diverse background. He's just a really good player. But he's really tiny. So a lot of times he hits the ball so hard, he brings himself off the ground. You can see him hit a forehand and boom, he's just totally off the ground on it. But he pushes off and uses from the court itself and then throws his body weight into it, which I have no idea how much he weighs. But it's very interesting to watch him play because his whole body is creating the impact and the movement that he has for tennis. But as you watch him play, you'll see that he's using that rotation. He's not twisting himself around. He's not dragging it. So every now and then, just go in and just see what you can see on the players and see what they do. And remember, they all start off the same as we did. They all start off hitting the ball just like we did, back and forth, slow pace, and then everything just kind of builds from there. You don't jump off with that and then try to backtrack around. You start off and move yourself up little by little by play. But I can keep saying the same thing. This is supposed to be fun. Playing tennis is supposed to be fun. Everything about it's fun. Getting to be outside, getting to play, getting to use the courts, getting to meet people, getting to play with different groups, tournaments or leagues, or just with somebody that you meet. It's just a really social, fun game. So I want you to be aware of that. The thing I want to end on this is the more fit you are, the more you're going to enjoy tennis, because the more you're going to get to play, the longer you're going to last, the less it's going to take everything out of you. So it's very interesting saying that. I heard a lot of comments about people that did not realize the more fit they were, the easier it was going to be to get to balls, to make coverage, to be able to get up if somebody hit something short or something deep or something long. So the person that gets one more ball, they're going to be a lot of times the more successful players, because they're always moving towards the ball. They're always ready for that. So having said that, the first time when we did, we worked on getting ourselves doing the fitness routine, which I would really love for you guys to do this time. I only had about 4 or 5 of you that completed it last time. I want you to think about some new drills that you can do for getting more in shape for tennis. And one of the things that I like to use a lot is called the sit and squat, or the sit-up, which you can do this from a chair. It really needs to be a little bit lower than a chair. So this is a bench that we use right here, and we use it for a lot of our fitness classes. And I do know that benches are used a lot too for step-up drills. We do those when we're doing step tests and everything, but this is a good drill to do. So I've got my heels elevated. You can see that they're up here. They're on this little run here, or if it was just a solid bench, then it would be right there on it together. I've taken this ball, and you can really use anything. You can probably even use a pillow if you wanted to. But I'm using this so that I'm going to engage my core, my abdominals, and my inside thighs. And I'm going to practice getting up and down off this bench. I'm going to practice using my core to get up and down. I'm not going to do this. Up. I'm going to practice and see what kind of core strength that I have, and what kind of strength I have in my legs. Now, if you want to have your racket with you to do this for balance, then that's fine. But this is what I want to see. I want to see you working on this and not heaving yourself forward, but see you maybe standing up and then coming down with a squat and hover, standing up, coming down with a squat and hover, standing up, coming down, squat and hover, or just staying in your hover and then come back down. So I want to see you practice that every now and then. Just get a place where you can do it. I don't think it'd be convenient for you to do while you're brushing your teeth or something, but anyway, just a drill to see, because tennis is one of those sports that involves more core than you actually think it does. Core is from your shoulders to your knees. Shoulders to your knees. And you guys are all young. They're taking tennis class, so you should have a really good core. I shouldn't be able to do a lot better than you are on this little drill here. So be thinking about that. Those are things we want to work. We do a lot of side-to-side lateral movement. We do a lot of front and back movement. We do a lot of to the ankles movement. We're trying to cut off the ball. We're not trying to outrun it. We're trying to cut it off in this nice little V right here so that we can keep the ball into play. So all of this stuff with our core is going to make a really big difference. Also, our quick reflexes that we know we're ready. And I'm going to go back and say the same thing before, that if we were playing, as soon as I hit the ball, you should have your racket back. As soon as you hit the ball, I should have my racket back. When I would say 9 times out of 10, you hit the ball to me, I watch the ball come over, I see it's over the net, I see it's going to be a forehand, then I take my racket back. Same thing on the serve. You toss the ball up, I look and see this up. As it starts coming down, my racket gets ready and I hit it, and then it drops too low. So, early racket preparation. Be ready in the ready position so that you can receive and so you can return. All those R's go together. Ready position, receiving the ball, returning the ball. Then after that, we get into a rally. So think about all the R's that are there. Think about being prepared so that you are prepared to put that ball into play. So there's a bunch of things we're talking about: prepared and progression and everything that you want to do to play, but all those R's for ready, return, rally, the whole bit, receiving it and going. So keep working on those. Keep doing that. Any day is a good day to play tennis, unless it's freezing, unless it's driving down rain, or unless the wind is blowing over 40, 50 miles an hour. You could always get something out of play as you go along. Again, this is the very first of them, so we're going to call this the 1.5 video. So this will be the very first week for us for classes for spring. Next week will be the 2.5, and that's when we will go and show you demonstrations, if you haven't already looked them up, on the difference between the continental, the eastern, the western, the semi-eastern, and western. And then I will have videos of some of the people from first semester, Laura and Peter and Wes, and let's see who else, Mary Samuels will come, Jane will come, and they'll each show you how they hit the ball. They'll each show you the difference. They'll show you what a topspin looks like, what a slice looks like. I'll show you what a flat one looks like. We'll have all kinds of demonstrations. So we'll have ground strokes the first week. We'll have lobs the second week. We'll have volleys and drop volleys and half volleys the third week. And then we will have serves, where we talk about what types of serves and kick serves. And then we'll have talking about what types of returns. So we'll have different people with different types of strokes showing you how they apply those in a different way, which gives you another perspective of the game of tennis. So it just keeps going on and on and on. And so again, hopefully those will be very successful and very helpful for you. No word, those of you that are taking twice, no word of the week this very first one. We'll start our word of the week next week, because your assignment this very first week is to tell me what the different grips are, to tell me what the different types on the stance are, and to tell me what things that you have learned that are going to be new for this semester that you did not have last semester. Tell me some new things that you've just learned just from this today, and that will be very helpful for you too. So different types of grips, different types of stances or moves, and then things that are different, going to be moving on forward, that you may have found out from today that you did not know last semester when you finished up. So again, thank you very much. My video guy is off in the other room, so I'm going to shut it off myself, and then we'll be ready for our next one on 2.5. Thank you.